Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, So Little Time, and my name is Karen. In today's vlog I'm going to be sharing with you some of my recent sewing makes. I've got a couple of charity upcycle projects to talk to you about, and also I'd like to share where I'm at with my knitting. So if that is something that interests you, please stick around. Okay, so I firstly just want to say hello and welcome to everybody who has recently subscribed to my channel. It's absolutely lovely to have you here with me. Thank you very much. And on the note of subscribers, I just want to say that I know I've been promising a giveaway for 2,000 subscribers, and I've finally gone out and bought the products to make the pattern weights that I'd like to give as the prize. So if you're new to my channel and you've not seen these pattern weights before, I'll just quickly show you what they are. A while ago I made these for myself using some Fimo clay, and I just made them in the form of little kind of cupcakes. So they just got like this little icing on top with some sprinkles, and the Fimo clay that I've used is called Fimo Effect, and I bought a set of 6 pastel colours off Amazon. So this is how the packet looks, and you get a set of 6 in a pack. So I'll link the details down below if you did want to go and check that out if you wanted to purchase them for yourself. So you get a sort of yellow colour, a purpley kind of colour. I don't know if this is going to show up on screen very well, perhaps not. And a corally orange colour, a minty kind of green turquoise colour, a blue, and a pink. And I've used those like as a mix and match to make these little pattern weights. So I'll just hold 3 of them up here for you to see. So you can see that's how they look. So they've got little sprinkles on top as well. And these each weigh about 65 grams. So I've got inside 2 washers that I bought from just a DIY shop, and that gives it the weight. And I've also just recently glazed these as well. So they have got a little bit of a sheen on them. I don't know if you'll be able to see this. Let's pick up that one. That might be a bit easier to see. There is a sheen on there. And I've also used some special glue to make sure that those little hundreds and thousands sprinkles don't come off. So that's what I'm going to be making then to give away for the 2,000 subscriber giveaway. I have actually gone past 2,000 now, but I'm a little bit late with this giveaway, so apologies for that. So I'm going to have a little think about how I'd like you to enter, so I can just put your name in a hat basically. You don't have to do anything major. But what I thought I'd do was, as I've actually got the products ready to make these up, I thought it might be quite nice to do a little tutorial on how I make them. So obviously if you don't win the giveaway and you wanted some of these pattern weights, you could make some for yourself because they're dead easy, and they didn't take me very long at all. And you basically bake this clay in the oven to harden it. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'll film the tutorial first, and then I'll get the giveaway uploaded after that. So yeah, just bear with me on that if that's all right. Okay, so onto my sewing makes then. I've made 4 items for myself and 1 for my son. So I'll go straight onto the items that I've made for me. And firstly, it's what I'm wearing today, and this is a Tilian the Buttons Coco top. So I'll just grab the pattern just in case you're not familiar with it. So it's this pattern here, and it's one of Tilly's ones that she brought out at the very beginning of her business. So it's this version here that I've made, and it's got the collar and the cuffs. It's a very 60s style sort of top, so it's got this collar here, like I say, and I've got the cuffs on as well. And I just attached those with my standard sewing machine. I didn't use my overlocker for that because I just find sometimes the overlocker adds a little bit too much bulk, and I've just used a zigzag stitch around the edge to top stitch the seam allowance down inside. And the fabric that I've used today is a loop back jersey, I think it is, or a French terry. So I don't know if you'll be able to see, but there is some little loops on the back there. And I got this from Rosie of Rosie Sews Modern Vintage, her D-Stash account on Instagram. I think there was about 1 metre or so there, maybe about 1.5 meters. So I knew as soon as I got it, that's what I wanted to make with it. So it's just a dead standard sort of top that I rotate in my wardrobe quite regularly. I've got quite a few of these Cocos now. So yeah, and it's just nice really, this fabric, because I've always used a Ponte-Roma in the past, so it has a little bit more structure. This one's a little bit more floppy, so the collar has a little bit more of a drapey effect. So you could actually, if you wanted to, unroll it and, you know, have it floppy, but I quite like it folded over like that, just to have the sort of 60s sort of effect of it. Okay, so I've paired it with this newly released pattern, which is the Emily Pinafore Dress by Bobbins and Buttons. If you've not come across them before, they are a company that are based in Leicester. They have an online shop for fabric and patterns. They used to be just children's patterns that they used to do, but now they've branched out into adult patterns, and this was one of their newly released ones. And Julia contacted me at the beginning of this year asking me if I wanted to test it, and of course as soon as I saw it was a Pinafore dress, I was like, absolutely, this is right up my street, because I've got about 6 Clios now, I think, so I rotate those quite highly throughout the year. The good thing about this Pinafore dress is that it's actually an A-line pinafore, so I haven't had to make any alterations to fit my shape. I'm a classic pair, as you know, so I always like to have sort of things that skim over my hips. And with the Clio pinafore, I have actually made alterations for that to fit my shape by making it more A-line, so that was quite nice that I didn't have to do anything with that one, with this one rather. So I've used just the prim Dungaree buttons, but on the actual buckles I ordered these from Amazon, and the reason was because I've had quite a lot of issues with the prim snap kind of buckles, that they're just not gripping, so they slide around too much and they're just a little bit too flimsy compared to what they used to be like. So because I've ordered this style buckle, I have had to fold the strap up and sew it so it stays in place, because it doesn't have the slider that you can get with some of them, but I suppose you could get a slider if you wanted to. Now the pinafore itself, I've made a size 8, but I should actually be wearing a size 10 for my body measurements. Now the reason I'm wearing a size 8 is because I actually made an error when making this pattern up, and basically the front and the back bodice can be either cut out on the fold or cut out with a seam down the middle, like you get on a sort of regular style dungaree dress. So I decided to have the front cut on the fold, and I forgot to move the pattern across to follow the notch, basically, where I should have placed the pattern on the fold rather than button it up to the fold. So I've actually got about 3 centimetres extra here that shouldn't be there, and sometimes I do find that this pinafore falls forward, and I think that is the extra 3 centimetres. So I've cut the back dress part on the to have 2 separate pieces, so there's a seam line down the back, and so that is the actual correct size, but it's just the front that has this extra 3 centimetres, so that's the reason I've managed to get away with the size 8, because I did cut out just a practice version and tried on the size 10 and the 8, and I thought, oh well, the 8 fits, obviously because of that error that I made, so I didn't realise I'd done that. There is a pocket on the front, and I'll just use my fingers so you can see where it is, because I've used the same fabric. So it's kind of rounded like this, and you'll see it is there. And then on the back I have got 2 back pockets. So I'll stand back so you can see the shape of the dress, and then I'll be able to show you where the back pockets are. So you'll see it's very A-line, so it skims over my hips lovely. And then at the back I have got these 2 pockets just here, and there is a back seam, but you won't be able to see that because it's quite a busy print of fabric. So I'll just stand back so you can see the length of the dress. It does come as this length and a longer version, and you can either have inseam pockets or patch pockets on the front, on the hips. I absolutely love this pinafore. I have worn it such a lot and it's so comfy. And then on the inside it has got a facing, as you can see here, and I've just used a contrast fabric that I had left in my stash from an old Minerva project, and I'm really pleased that I used a contrast fabric, because I did initially cut it out with the same fabric as this, but because I'd obviously made that 3 centimetre error, the facing didn't fit. Yes, I really like that contrast. I haven't actually hemmed the dress with a bias bound hem like I usually do. I've just overlocked the edge and then folded it up, but I have interlined the dress with some anti-static lining so it doesn't stick to my tights, and I do that obviously quite regularly now on a lot of my dresses that I make. So I'll just stand up and quickly show you just the hem. So you'll see I've just folded it over. So I overlocked it, folded it over and top stitched that down. And there's the anti-static line, and I've just used a black one. And that was literally just because that's what I had in my stash. Otherwise I probably would have used a nicer colour. Okay, so that's these first two makes then. I'll go and get changed into my next make. Okay, so my next make is another Tilian the Buttons pattern, and it's the Tilian the Buttons Bettine dress. So I'll quickly show you that pattern as well, just in case you're not familiar with it. And it's this one here, and I have made a version very similar to this in a chambray fabric. And this fabric was gifted to me in return for a blog post from Minerva. And it's a chambray which has got these little kind of spots and stars on it. And it's really lightweight, so it would be perfect for sort of spring, summer, and just wearing it with either, you know, skin coloured tights or bare legs. Today I've got it on with black tights, and I usually just wear a slip underneath it so it doesn't stick to my tights. I've used the version with the cuffs just there. I haven't put the tabs on. You can get some tabs to put on there. And I've got the version with the big pockets as well. The Bettine dress has an elasticated waist, and I think the size of the elastic that you're supposed to use is about, I think it's 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch. Let me just check. It's 1/2 inch wide elastic, and I found in my double gauze version that it twists quite a lot, and I think that is purely to do with the fabric, because my other cotton version that I've made doesn't twist at all, so I've had no problems with that, and I haven't had any problems with this one as well. And I absolutely love this dress. The size I've made is a size 4, but I have used 3/8 of an inch seam allowance down from the underneath the arms all the way down the side seams to the bottom of the skirt, just because I found this particular dress came up slightly smaller than her other size 4 woven patterns. And I also have just made a slight change to the shape as well. So the skirt is quite baggy around the hip area on this version of the pattern. Now this was the pattern that she brought out at the very beginning. She has since changed the pattern to shave off a little bit of this hip curve here, and I've straightened out the bottom of the skirt to make it slightly more A-line instead of having this tulip effect there. So I'll stand back so you can see. So you can see it's got lovely deep pockets there. I've lengthened it as well by about 1.5 inches, just so it's slightly longer because it was a bit short for me. So you can see it kind of comes just above my knee. It's got this elasticated waist as well. The other alteration I made was to the elastic casing, and that is usually when you sew this pattern up, it tells you to sew the elastic casing to the skirt section, and I've sewed it up to the bodice section, and I have talked about that in a previous vlog of mine. I just prefer the look of that. It just gives it a little bit more of a straighter look, so you don't have as much of this overhang here, because I find that's not very flattering on me, because I like to have a nipped in waist because that's the smallest area of my body, so I like to show that off. But yes, that's all I've got to say about this dress really. It's just a lovely wardrobe staple again that I'll be rotating quite a lot in the summer, and you know, like I say, I pair it in the winter with tights and a slip underneath, and I usually put my Blackwood cardigan over the top, so that's quite a nice pairing, and probably a scarf as well. Whilst I've got this on, I'm just going to show you something that I bought recently. I bought a Snug from Jane at Loopy Mabel's Closet. She has a crochet YouTube channel as well as her dressmaking channel, and she does tutorials on there for you to be able to make these snugs yourself, but she also has a website where you can order them to be made for you. So I decided to do that because I'm not very good at crocheting. I basically have learned how to do like the straight lines, but I don't know how to do a pattern or follow a pattern, although I have purchased one of her patterns to give it a go to actually follow a tutorial on her YouTube channel, so I'm going to be giving that a go after I finish my knitted cardigan. So I'll grab the snug that Jane has kindly made for me because it's absolutely beautiful, and it does pair with this dress quite nicely, so I'll be back in just a moment. It's a lovely sort of pink rose kind of colour, and this wool is so soft. It's absolutely beautiful. It's got these lovely little bobbles on the bottom as well. And it's called a snug because it's not got any arms, it just literally comes around your top half to keep you nice and warm. And on it, it's got her lovely little leather badge logo. So I'll pop this on just so you can see, because it's absolutely beautiful, and I just think it's something that I'd like to share with you. Okay, so here it is, absolutely gorgeous. It just fits over the shoulders, just absolutely lovely. If I sort of come back a bit, you can see it comes down to where the waist is on this dress. So it just sits like that. Just come over this way. Yeah, absolutely love this. So thank you so much, Jane. It's just gorgeously made with her crochet hands. She's got such a talent there. Yeah, and I can't tell you, like I say, how soft this wool is, and it really will keep you warm. I think it'd be lovely for wearing over dresses and things in the spring when it's just got that nip in the air still, but you just, you know, need an extra layer, not like a coat really, but yeah, just something just to keep your shoulders warm. So I'll definitely get a lot of wear out of this because I think it will go with quite a lot of things that I've got in my wardrobe. So that's the reason I chose this colour, and I think it goes with my skin tone and my dark hair as well. So I just really wanted to share that with you, just so you could see, you know, so if you are somebody who likes to have a go at crochet, I definitely urge you to have a go at one of her tutorials. She's got quite a lot on there, and she also has an Instagram account where she shows all of her crochet capes and snugs that she's made, so that's separate to her dressmaking YouTube and Instagram account. So I'll link all the details down below just so you can go and have a look. Okay, so I'm going to get changed into my final make then, so I'll be back in just a moment. Okay, so the final make that I've made for myself is this Sheridan sweater by Hey June Handmade, and this is the front of the pattern here. As you can see, it looks slightly different to what I'm wearing, although the fabric is near enough the same colour. And I'll just show you on the back, I can butt it up to something so you'll be able to see. It's got 3 kind of different variations, and the variation I've gone with is this one here. So it's got like the straighter bodice with these bell kind of sleeves, and this, I don't know what you'd call this neckline, but it's a raised neckline. And then this version here again has the raised neckline, and the sleeves are gathered into some elastic, and then it's got a hemband added at the bottom. This one has a shorter bodice with the hemband at the bottom, but the sleeves are gathered into a cuff, and it has a round neckline there. So I'm not sure if you add a neckband as such, but it's, yeah, a round neckband. So the version I've made then is the one with the bell sleeve. So it's got this lovely raised neckline, which is very, very similar to the Sew House 7 Toaster version 2, which I've made not so long ago. But the difference with this one is that it's got a facing inside. So if I pull it out, you'll see there is a facing that I've just literally overlocked at the edge, and then you just attach that to the right side of the neckline and then flip it in and understitch it so it doesn't roll out at the top. And I quite like that because it holds the shape really, really well. And the difference with this one compared to the Sew House 7 Toaster sweater is you don't get that funny line that it creates there, because that neckline is all in one rather than having a facing, so it does create a funny line. I mean, I know I've got a crease there, but that's because of my microphone. So I opted to go with the bell sleeve version. So if I just sort of stand back, you'll see it's got this lovely bell section. I just thought that was something a little bit different. Obviously the only problem with that is then you can see inside the sleeve, so you can see my overlocking stitches on the sleeve inside hem, or seam, inside seam, sorry. So I decided to add some bias binding around the cuff area, because you could see that overlocking literally around this edge, and obviously as you're talking and moving your arms around, you do see that quite a lot, and I just didn't like that. I'm not too fussed about that bit, but I didn't have any sort of matching thread to go with this for my overlocker. I've only got white or navy blue. Perhaps navy blue would have been a better choice. Yeah, so I'm not too fussed about that bit, but you could just, it was more visible around the actual sleeve section there. So I decided to use the bias binding, and I really do actually quite like that effect. I just think it adds a little bit of prettiness to the actual top itself. And also it just adds a little bit of weight to the bottom of the sleeve. And I've literally, the way I've done that is how I do the hems on my dresses, and you flip out the section of the bias binding, one of the folded edges, and you put it right sides together, stitch in that fold line, and then basically flip the whole of the bias binding to the inside, and then top stitch it down. I've just used a zigzag stitch to top stitch that down, as you can see. So I do really like that. Now I have actually bought some more of this bias binding because I only had a little bit left, so I only managed to do the sleeves. So I'm going to do it to the bottom of the hem as well. So I haven't actually done that as yet. So I'm going to unpick the top stitching that I've done because I literally just overlocked the edge of the sweater and then folded it in and top stitched it. But I think it would look quite nice having that bias binding, just a nice finish really. I mean, nobody's actually going to see it, but it just add a little bit of weight to the bottom of the sweater as well. This particular fabric is a sweatshirting fabric that I got from Minerva, again in return for a blog post, so this will be going up onto their website at some point. And I just absolutely love the quality of this sweatshirting. It's exactly the same as the teal sweatshirting that I used for my South Bank sweater that I recently made, and I've wore that quite a lot and it hasn't bobbled at all or peeled or anything, so I'm really pleased with the quality of the fabric, and it's a lovely squishy kind of sweatshirt, and it's really quite warm. It's got a lovely fleecy inside there. So I'll stand back so you can see the length of this sweater, because I have actually lengthened it. If I'd have left it at the standard length, it would have been belly skimming and there was no way I would have been wearing it at that length. You know, I've had twins, so no. So I've lengthened it by a good 5 or 6 inches. I can't actually remember if it's 5 or 6, but it's definitely a significant amount. So I'll just confirm that amount in the description box below for you. Just so you know, again, I'm 5'5", so this is where it is falling on me after adding that amount of length. Okay, so with that length added, it's sitting sort of on my low kind of hip area. And like I say, I have just literally overlocked and folded up the edge. So I'm going to add that bias binding, and that will add just a smidge more length to it, because you don't have such a big fold over when you add the bias binding. Yeah, so like that. So if I hadn't have actually added that length on, it would have been really short. So do bear that in mind. If I was to make the version with the hemband on the bottom, I probably wouldn't have had to have added as much length, but I still would have added some length for sure. Now the size that I made was a size 8, and the measurements for this pattern, it goes on your high bust and high hips, and not your standard bust, hips and waist ratio. For the size 8, the high bust is a 34 and the high hip is a 34 inch as well. I didn't bother going with the hip measurement, I've just gone with my bust measurement. But what I should have done is gone down a size, because I've had to use 5/8 of an inch all the way down the sleeves and all the way down the bodice to bring it in slightly, because this is a standard 3/8 of an inch seam allowance, and it was just a little bit too big for me. So I've used 5/8 of an inch, and I should have gone with the size 6, which is a 33 inch high bust, which is probably what I should have been, because I've gone with my normal bust measurement, which is 34. But I just wanted to err on the side of caution, because I cut straight into this. I didn't do a practice version or make a toile or anything like that, because I didn't have any other sweatshirting fabric to use. And because I didn't obviously want to go wrong, because this is going to be for a blog post, I've gone straight into cutting into this fabric. So I erred on the side of caution and went with the bigger size. But I kind of thought, this might be a bit big for me, and it was. So just so you know. Okay, so that's the final make for myself. The other sewing make that I made was a jacket for my eldest son, Harry. He is 6½, and I've made this gorgeous little jacket for World Book Day. So this year there wasn't a theme as there was last year. Last year there was a fairy tale theme. So if you were watching my channel last year, you would have seen the dragon costume that I made. So this year he wanted to go as Peter Rabbit, and the theme was literally just to be your favourite character in a book, and you had to take the book along with you. So he said he wanted to be Peter Rabbit, and I was like, right, okay, I'm going to have a go at making the jacket then, because you can buy a Peter Rabbit costume, but as I can sew, I wanted to make something. I just always feel so much better if I've done something handmade. And my friend, she gave me a bag full of fabric that she didn't want anymore, and there was a blue fabric in there which was absolutely perfect. Now unfortunately I don't have the jacket here to show you because it's World Book Day today, and so he's currently wearing it at school, but I did film some footage this morning of the jacket, so I'll insert that in just a moment. So the pattern that I've used is by Blank Slate Patterns, which is by Melly Sews, and it's the Berkshire Blazer. So this is the pattern here, so you can see this is the blazer. This one looks a lot sort of bouncy compared to the one I've made, because this looks like it's been made in a kind of suiting, I suppose, or yeah, fleecy suiting fabric, but I just thought this was absolutely perfect for the Peter Rabbit jacket. So the blue fabric that I've used is just the right colour, and then I bought some buttons from John Lewis, some gold buttons to go down the middle. And when I measured him, he came up as a size age 4. And I just thought, you know, he's 6.5 years old. I really don't think he's going to be an age 4, but I did wonder if this came up quite big. But I thought I'm just going to go with an age 5 just to be on the safe side, and I'm so glad I did, because it just fits him perfectly. But I don't think he's going to be in it for that much longer, to be honest. I think he'll grow out of it this year, and so it'll have to be handed down to the twins to share. But yeah, he absolutely is over the moon with it. So I'm so pleased that I went ahead and made it. So I'll insert that footage and also a photo for you to see of him wearing it this morning with his rabbit ears and things on. Okay, so here's the jacket then. As you can see here, I've got 3 gold buttons that I bought from John Lewis. They were about £2 each, so they were quite expensive. But I think it's worth it because it's really set the jacket off as per Peter Rabbit. And it's got this lovely kind of, I don't know what you call this collar, but yeah, I really like the way that's that it kind of folds over and just creates that, so you don't have to attach a separate collar. It's kind of all in one. And then it's got these lovely sleeves that kind of have this dip here as well, so it's a bit longer on the outside of your hand, and I really like that. I haven't pressed it very well, have I? Look at that. Never mind. Yeah, so it's actually lined, and I'm really pleased that I did line it, because I wasn't going to initially, because I didn't think I'd have enough time and it would be complicated, but it actually wasn't. It was dead easy for this pattern. You kind of just bag it out and then turn it right sides out, and then slip stitch the bottom where you've turned it right side out. So I've done that, and that's worked out absolutely fine. And the lining is slightly smaller than the jacket itself, so it does roll in on itself, which is good. And this fabric was just from my auntie's stash that she didn't want anymore. So that was just a perfect contrast, I think. And then this fabric for the outer was from my friend, who is also into dressmaking. She lives down the road from me. We met through a mutual friend, and she gave me a bag of fabric that she didn't want anymore, and this was in there. And it's got this lovely little shiny dot on it. And I just thought, oh yeah, that's perfect. And I just had enough to make this. So that worked out really well. And then the buttonholes, I got those perfect first time. I'm really, really pleased with those, because I've not done buttonholes for such a long time. And on my machine, it's got an automatic buttonhole setting, and you use a special foot which gauges the size of the button. So it does the buttonhole at the size that the button can fit through. And luckily with these spots, I was able to kind of line them up so they are straight. And yeah, they just worked out really well. So I was really pleased, because obviously I'd finished the jacket and didn't want to ruin it by messing it up with the buttonholes. So he's dead excited to get this on this morning. So he's going to be wearing them with these little bunny ears, which are from my neighbour, and just a plain white t-shirt and some sort of khaki trousers. And then he's got to take his Peter Rabbit book in with him as well. So yeah, lovely little outfit for him. So we're obviously going to have to give these back to my friend. So I've just found yesterday in our bargain shop in the village, not the charity shop, just a bargain shop, but I'll show you the rabbit ears that I've bought. So I'm just going to go into my cupboard and get them out. Where have I put them? Here they are. So these little ears, so the blue kind of matches the jacket, so he'll have these to dress up as Peter Rabbit afterwards, but he's going to wear those ones today because they're a bit more obviously rabbit-like. And they're from Lindt, the chocolatiers. Yeah, so he's really looking forward to getting dressed up in this today. So yeah, he was absolutely over the moon. He was so excited, bless him, this morning. He could not wait to get in it. And I said, you know, you can't wear it until after you've had your breakfast, because you might spill your cereal down you. But he had it in his room all piled up ready, and it was just, so that made me feel really lovely that I'd made it, you know, and he was just over the moon with it. So he's gone in really happy this morning with his Peter Rabbit outfit. Okay, so that's all the sewing makes that I've done then recently. So I've just got here quickly to talk to you about some charity shop upcycling. So I'm going to be including my charity shop upcycling on my channel now, as a lot of you were interested in that. So again, thank you ever so much to all the lovely comments that I've received recently on my channel. It's great to read all through those, and I do try and answer you all as much as I can. So I recently showed you a stripy dress, which was originally from Next, and it was from my local charity shop, and it had a bell sleeve on it. So I took the bell sleeve off and I have added a contrast cuff, and I've basically just used the pattern piece as per the Tilian the Buttons Coco top and added that on. I luckily had some fabric that matched the colour of this red in my stash already, so I only had just enough really to do those cuffs. I've left it as a dress length at the moment. I was considering cutting it into a top, but I decided to keep it as a dress for now. And then I will try it on later in the year after I've lost a little bit of weight, and to see how I feel in it, because it is quite figure hugging. At the minute I'm not confident enough to wear it as is. So yeah, I will see how I feel once I get to the weight that I want to be. And then yes, I've just added those cuffs then, so I'm quite pleased with how that's turned out. They do sit at elbow length, which I'm not, it's not my favourite place to have a sleeve sitting, but I didn't have any more. I could fold it down, but I prefer it folded over. Yeah, so I'll show you that on in the future, but that's what I've done. So the black and white, or navy and white version should I say, exactly the same dress again from Next originally and from my local charity shop. I've cut the bell sleeves off, but I've not done anything with those sleeves as yet. But I've got this fabric exactly the same in my stash, so I'm going to make a slightly different sleeve for this one, and I'll show you this ready to wear dress that I've got, because I'm going to basically copy what the sleeves are like on here. Now these sleeves on this ready to wear dress I have actually shortened. They were a lot bigger, so you can see it's just got a little fluted edge there, so I'm going to do exactly the same as that. These were a lot longer, I think they were more like down here, and I shortened them and just literally, before I had an overlock, I just cut them off and sewed up the edge. And this dress style is very similar, it's just slightly looser fitting. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to copy that onto that navy and white one, so I'll show you that in the future. And then the next one, I'm going to actually get changed into it so you can see what it currently looks like. I bought it recently from the charity shop and I absolutely love the fabric, but it's absolutely massive, and it's going to be a little bit more of a hack on this one, just because it's going to need a lot more tweaking and things, so it's going to be a bit more of a challenge for me. So I'll show it you in its current state so you can see what it looks like. Okay, so this is the dress then that I bought from my charity shop recently. It's originally from H&M, and I think the size says it's a European 34. So I don't know what that is in UK terms, so I don't even know if it's my size. But basically it's got this high neck here, which is very, very similar to the Wilder gown or Wilder gown. And I really quite like that, but if I wear it, I'm definitely going to have my hair up for sure, just to show that off, because I think the hair on it just is too much. It's got a keyhole section here, so this is done up with a bow. Got a keyhole section here. I have got a slip on underneath because it is quite low and I don't like showing off any cleavage, it's just not my thing. And it's got these balloony kind of statement sleeves that are really quite in at the moment. And the rest of the dress is absolutely massive. It's just basically an A-line all the way from here down to sort of mid-calf. So I'll stand back so you can see. I've just got it on with my jeans at the minute, but if I stand back you can see that it does come quite far down. It's got pockets in it there, but it's just so shapeless on me at the minute. Yes, absolutely massive on me. So what I'm thinking of doing is I'm going to keep the sleeves as they are, because I do quite like that, and I really do like the top neckline. So what I think I'm going to do is I need to bring it in significantly around this area here. So I either need to put an elastic channel in, maybe to gather it there, and then do something with the skirt section of the dress, or I need to maybe even cut it and create a seam line and take it in down the side seams quite a lot, because the fabric is absolutely gorgeous. It's like a crepe, a bubble crepe I would say, because it's got like a texture to it. and I think it will wash and wear really, really well. So there is quite a lot of scope to do something with this dress, but I'm just not 100% sure of what I'm going to do with it. If you have any suggestions, please do put them forward to me, because I'm all ears. I'm quite happy to be open to suggestions to what you might think I could do with it. But definitely when I wear it, it will be hair up, so I can show that neckline off. But I just need to nip it in at the waist for sure to show off my smaller area. I could even make it as a tiered skirt section, I suppose, very similar to the indigo maybe, and have ties on it to bring it in. So yeah, put your suggestions forward and I'll have a think as well, and then hopefully I can come up with something to do with it. I'm not going to rush it because I don't want to ruin it, so yeah, just watch this space as to what I'm going to do with it. But that's the only charity upcycles I've got at the minute, so I've just done that one, and then I've got the sleeve to do on the other one, and they will get worn in the future. And yeah, this one. So that's all I've got for sort of sewing things to talk to you about. So I'm going to show you an update of where I'm at with my knitting now. So if you're not interested in that, I will always just be showing my knitting at the end of my vlogs. So I just grabbed the pattern to show you. So the pattern that I am making is this one here. So it's just this lovely red cardigan. It's got a cable knit effect at the very top, and that goes around the back as well. And I've used a red wool, basically, which is very similar. And I've got to the point now where I've still got it on the needles. I'm going to try not to lose the stitches. But the back is done. The two fronts are done, the two sleeves are done, and I've literally picked up the stitches and done the neck band. And now I am just I've picked up the stitches and I've just started to knit the button band down one of the front pieces. I have come up a little bit stuck on how to do the button band, because it's basically where you're ribbing and then you have to cast off some stitches to create the buttonholes, and then on the second row you cast the stitches back on, and I've never done that before. I've always used a method of where you bring the yarn forward and then knit two stitches together, and that creates a little hole, and that's how my nan taught me, so I might even go ahead and do that. I did put on Instagram a picture of the row that I'm stuck on. I've had a few people answer, so I will have a look at what I can do. But anyway, to show you, so this is the front, and you can see it's got this lovely cable effect there, and it was the first time that I've ever used a cable needle, so I'm really, really pleased with how that's turned out. It looks really neat. I'll show you the back. Actually, it's probably easier to see, because the back, there's a lot more of the cabling on there. I hold it up, just try not to lose my stitches. Should get a little rubber thing, shouldn't I, or a stitch holder or something. There we go. So that's the back, so you can see that lovely cabling, gorgeous red colour, and I'm really pleased with how it's turned out. So again, that's just stocking stitch down the back, and it looks like it's going to turn out okay. So I've just literally got to finish the button bands and then sew the sleeves on, I think. I'm not quite sure how you do it yet, and then seam it all up together, so sew it all together, and I'll just be using the ladder stitch to do that. So that's where I'm at with my knitting, and then once I finish that, I'm going to start doing that snug, following the tutorial of Jane's on her YouTube channel. I'm not 100% sure how to block a cardigan, so if you've got any advice, please put that forward to me as well. I do have a friend that does knit, so I might see if I can contact her. She might be able to help me out, because this is going to be the first cardigan that I've ever knitted for myself and actually finished it. So, and it has taken a little while, but I'm quite pleased with my progress. It has grown quite quickly because it's a chunky wool. So that's it. So that has basically brought this vlog to an end. So thank you ever so much for sticking around, if you have done throughout the entirety of this vlog, because it probably will be quite long. I will be bringing a video to you in the next week or so, which is going to be a collaboration with Josie of It Is Josie. We have decided to make the Neely Camden skirt, not the pinafore, the skirt. She's actually made the pinafore before. I've still got to make it, which is part of my Make 9 for this year. But we're going to do the skirt together and then show what we've made on the 13th of March. So please do check out our blogs for that. I have been meaning to mention Josie's channel on my channel for a while now, because I think it would be great if you could just go over and check her out and subscribe to her channel. She has made some beautiful sewing garments, and she has a very similar style to me, so we do tend to make, you know, similar things, which is great. So this is why we've decided to come together to do a collaboration on a skirt, because we are completely different body types as well. So it's just interesting to see how things look on us. So please do check that out. And then also I've got another vlog that I'm going to be uploading shortly, which is part of a series that Laura from the Specky Seamstress has been doing. And she had some questions from her viewers as to how to get into dressmaking or to start sewing. And so she thought it would be great if us sewing vloggers sort of came together and brought out our own sort of take on it, because we've all had a different journey into our sewing, and I think it's just nice to be able to share you know, how we got into our sewing, and also any advice that we can give to any people who are looking to get into it. So that's going to be another vlog that I'll be bringing to you soon. So thank you again for watching. I'll see you very soon. Bye.